Four divisions, four hosts, all battling it out for the Holy GrAHL of the American Hockey League, the Calder Cup. This is the Holy GrAHL podcast with Andrew Rinaldi, Deana Weinheimer, Jeremy Paul, Michael Liu, and Zack Power.
Well, hello and welcome back. This is episode number 33 of Field Pass Hockey's AHL podcast, the Holy GrAHL. Just as we have been all season, we are all about the American Hockey League and their yearly race to their Holy GrAHL, the Calder Cup. And boy, are we in the thick of it now. I mean, we are looking at the conference finals, which is just the last step before that final 7-game series to the Calder Cup. So yeah, I'm super excited. We're not going to waste any more time on an introduction except for introducing us. And then we're going to get right into this because boy, we've got some stuff to talk about, but we're just going to go ahead and introduce ourselves here real quick, at least to start the show. We're pretty shorthanded again. Hopefully we'll have some more people jump on, but there's just a few, things happen, but Andrew, go ahead and kick us off here.
Yeah, we got the power kill going tonight. So anyone who needs to be reintroduced, I'm Andrew Rinaldi. I cover the beat for the Central Division champion now, Chicago Wolves, and Central Division basement, Grand Rapids Griffins. Hey, a couple different ends of the spectrum there. But episode 33, Chris Draper, I am so excited for these conference finals. I've been hyped up for some of these matchups for a while now. And now that they're in my lap, it feels kind of surreal, but here we are and I'm ready to get into it.
And I am Deana Weinheimer. I am your Cleveland Monsters beat writer. Yeah, haven't had a whole lot of news on them lately, but it's okay. I've been keeping busy anyway. Third season here at Field Pass Hockey. And Andrew, I just remember you saying it's been a few weeks, but you had said something about the Western Conference being the true, Calder Cup, finals. And I think you are probably right here.
Yeah, not taking away from the teams that we have in the East because we got a couple of incredible hockey clubs over there. But man, we'll get into it. We got a lot to talk about, so I'll leave that for later on in the show.
Absolutely. So we're just going to go ahead and do our week in review. To be quite honest, there's not a whole heck of a lot of news outside of the actual playoffs for this past week, but there is some. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that now. We did have a historic moment that deserves a little bit of extra attention. So Andrew's going to lead us off with that here.
How about Dustin Wolf? We've been talking about this kid all season, and when he needs to step his game up, unbelievable. Dustin Wolf ties an AHL record with his third shutout of the Pacific Division Final to help clinch that series for the Stockton Heat over the Colorado Eagles. He obviously, as I alluded to, he blanked Colorado in games 1 and 2, made 40 saves to join Mika Neronen of the 2000 Rochester Americans and Gord Henry of the 47 Hershey Bears as the only goaltenders to ever record 3 shutouts in a single Calder Cup playoff series. We want to talk about a guy who's, been unreal all season and then elevating when it matters the most. Couple of 1-0 wins to help secure his team spot in the Western Conference Finals. What more can we really say about Dustin Wolf that we haven't already said this season? But he's still managed to find an extra gear to turn it up in these playoffs, and it's nothing short of incredible for a guy who was 3 picks away from being Mr. Irrelevant in his draft class to being goaltender of the year and leading his team into the Final Four. Nothing short of spectacular for Dustin Wolf here, and all the accolades, he certainly deserved it. And I've loved watching it. I did call Colorado to win that series, so I'll eat my words on that one. Yeah, but I mean, just nothing but the most praise for Dustin Wolf in this past series. He was spectacular. You can't really describe it any other way.
Right. And I mean, I'm not taking away from any of the other accomplishments that the other two goaltenders had, but to do it against this Colorado Eagles squad, that if you look at the goals for count right now in the playoffs, they have the highest number of goals for in the entire postseason with 36. Chicago is second with 35. No surprise there. But for them to do that Stockton, 24 goals for. By all rights, you would think that Colorado should have won that series, but Dustin Wolf, wow, did he steal that for his team? It was just a spectacular, huge. I can't even think of other words to say.
We've really run out of adjectives for Dustin Wolf. I mean, as many times we've brought him up on this pod. What more can you possibly say? I mean, 3 shutouts in 4 games. And again, as you said, against an Eagles team that was just feeling it down the stretch. I mean, blowing away Henderson, blowing away Ontario. And they turn around and just get stonewalled here in the Pacific Division Finals. All this hype for Chicago going into this series, well, you got to kind of take a step back now and just wonder, if they can shut down Colorado, all this talent on the Wolves, is that what's the next step? Is he going to take another gear forward? And again, we'll talk about it. We'll get there. But for now, congratulations to Dustin Wolf, an incredible accomplishment in the division finals.
And I also just wanted to say, it was great that you mentioned about the whole draft class thing, because we are coming up upon the NHL draft very soon. I believe the combine's going on right now. If not, it's going to be shortly. And there's going to be young men that are left out, drafted late. And he's a great example for the goaltenders to be, hey, just keep practicing your craft. The draft doesn't necessarily determine how successful you're going to be. We have seen plenty of late draft picks, undrafted players gone on to very successful careers.
And for goaltenders, it's so hard to pin in on, who's going to be so successful from draft day. Look at how many goalies we have who are late bloomers. Look at the NHL. Look at, a guy like Darcy Kemper. I mean, obviously Dustin Wolf's an obvious example there, but, it's some goalies they got to take some time to really understand, the pro game, the ins and outs, the mental fortitude to come in and day out over an 82 game season of, it for some of these guys, it takes a little longer. I mean, Wolf's 21 years old, so it didn't really matter much to him, but for, think of a guy like Jordan Binnington. Think of how long it took him to grind through the coast, to grind through this league, and to finally make his stamp in the league and the national. It's such a different game for goalies, and right, you shouldn't be discouraged whether you're a first or late round draft pick. I mean, there's so much that can change over the years, and I hope guys can take a look at a guy like Wolf and realize that you just you put your nose to the grindstone and you go in and you put the work in, and you never know. You end up in the right organization with the right opportunity, and anything can happen. Absolutely.
We could have a whole completely different discussion, for better or for worse, about Jordan Binnington, but this is an AHL podcast, and I'm happy we are because, Anyway, I'm just going to leave it at
for
that.
Another episode.
That is for another podcast to tackle. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic. So Michael isn't here right now. I wish he was, so that way he could share a little bit more of an insider view on this next point. But we already saw how strong the Abbotsford Canucks looked in their inaugural season. But moving forward, they are going to have some heavy weapons in the front office and in player development, specifically working with the Canucks. On Monday, May 30th, the Vancouver Canucks GM, Patrick Alvin, announced multiple additions to their player development staff to support the growth of the Canucks prospects at all levels. Now, legends Daniel and Henrik Sedin are actually going to be transferring to new roles within the player development, working daily on and off the ice with the young players in Vancouver and with Abbotsford. Now, they spent this past season as special advisors to the general manager, so this is just a new role for them. Obviously, they know the club well, they know the systems well. In my mind, just no-brainer move here. Joining the club also are former NHLers Mikael Samuelsson and Mike Komisarek, who will primarily be working with the Canucks prospects throughout the organization. So not necessarily just in Abbotsford, but you're also looking at young players that are still in the juniors, maybe overseas in those pro leagues. So a lot of great pickups from players who know the game, know what it takes to become true long-term pros here in North America.
And for guys like the Sedins or for Samuelsson, I think that Vancouver is going with a big focus on bringing some European players over. I mean, obviously, when you think of the Canucks, first and foremost is Elias Pettersson coming over from Sweden. And not that he had any trouble with his game, but you look at another guy like Nils Höglander, who, you know, had a bit of a adjustment period kind of, you know, coming over from that European ice into the shorter North American ice. And we've seen it with other guys here in this league, like Jonathan Berggren, guys that just kind of need to adjust and, you know, I wouldn't say transition their game, but really kind of own on, you know, those skills. And you just, it's just the nature of it. When you have less space, you have less time to make those plays. And I think they're really keying on having some of these younger European prospects coming in through Abbotsford and having these guys who have done it, who've come over from Sweden and who've really learned that North American game. I mean, you know, look at a couple legends like the Sedins coming in. Who what better mentors could you have as a young player looking at, you know, those two guys come, and it's, you know, we'll see if that hockey IQ on the ice translates to, you know, off the ice into what. Oh, hey Zach, how's it going?
Oh, I'm always doing good. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing fantastic now that you're here, big guy.
Hey, there's some good AHL hockey kicking around. I couldn't miss this episode.
Oh, we're glad that you're here, but we're just talking some moves from the Abbotsford Canucks in Vancouver and on their front office. You know, getting the Sedins into a position where they're having some of these, you know, they're mentoring some of these young kids coming in on their development. And like I was saying, we'll see if the hockey IQ on the ice translates to, you know, into off ice management. But I mean, can you really go wrong with a couple of minds like the Sedins? I feel like it's kind of a home run for the Vancouver organization, but we've seen Abbotsford make some incredible strides in their inaugural season, and I love to see what they can do with that momentum going forward, and a lot of good young players coming through that organization.
And I would like to think, too, that Jason Spezza is going to be a great deal to the Marlies as well because, you know, he's already mentioned that he has full intentions on helping almost every player that he can from NHL to AHL to ECHL. You kind of see that. And I mean, I think Rochester has some guys like that as well, where I think Buffalo Carcillo possibly is working with them. But like you kind of see that at a lot of levels, and the Sedins have brought a lot forth. And I think that that's going to be a kind of a new wave of the AHL too, is kind of being a mentor off the ice once you're finished on the ice.
If you'd have told me in 2012 that Jason Spezza would have been an integral part of the Toronto organization and the development of their players, I would have told you to go home, you're drunk. But hey, here we are.
Well, just kind of to build upon that point that you were talking about, other organizations doing that. I know Columbus and Cleveland do that with Rick Nash. I have seen him multiple times up in Cleveland after games talking to players, and that's been ever since he retired a few seasons ago. It was not uncommon to see him up there. Every once in a while, you would see Jarmo Kekalainen, the Columbus GM, up there, but Rick Nash saw him a lot, and now you're starting to see that with Derek Dorsett. Mark Letestu was going to be in a similar role before he got almost instantly promoted into an assistant coach due to some COVID protocols issues with one of the Columbus head coaches, or not head coach, assistant coaches. But it looks to be a growing trend. And who else but legends for your organization bringing in and helping to raise up the next generation of it?
I'm still waiting for Detroit to bring back Sergei Fedorov and Igor Larionov from across the ocean, but
could you imagine?
Oh, don't get me started.
Don't they need a coach?
I mean, a lot of Red Wing fans want Sergei to be the coach, but if you're gonna pull the goalie in overtime, sorry, I don't care how big of a legend you are. The answer is no.
But it's also, you also have to think about it in context as well, that a lot of these European leagues are very much experimental leagues, right? And this is kind of where you're starting to see a lot more of these kind of coaches do, I don't want to say wacky things, but to us it's pretty wacky, right? And
it's wacky.
Nothing is off the table in these European leagues. And I think Patrick Waugh got a little bit of inspiration from the European leagues when he was coaching in Colorado.
100%.
All right. And we have one more piece of news to share, basically affecting the newest NHL team. And Andrew has a little bit more on that.
Yeah, finally we have an end to the dual affiliation in Charlotte. I mean, next season, Seattle's prospect will be with the Coachella Valley Firebirds, and they will play just outside of Palm Springs, the new $300 million Acrisure Arena. Meanwhile, Charlotte will be back to their sole affiliation with the Florida Panthers. And according to the gold standard, Patrick Williams, the Kraken have somewhere in the range of 12 to 14 spots to fill in the Coachella Valley roster for next season. So
I have a feeling it's not going to be hard to find players that are willing to spend the bulk of their winter in Palm Springs.
Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. I think that this team, I mean, you know, their draft picks are rather, you know, kind of young still at this point. So, you know, you might have to fill out that roster with a lot of vets and everything. And, you know, you give a contract to, you know, a guy, just throwing out a name, but like Sean Malone over in Rochester, like, hey, why don't you come to Coachella for a season? You can spend your Decembers here in Southern California. That sounds pretty appealing to me, but, you know, I assume that there'd be a lot of vets out there that are looking for a new deal, looking for a roster spot, looking for some ice time, and there's a good chance that Coachella might just come out swinging next year. It's a really intriguing story to watch out for, to see how this roster unfolds.
The other side of it too, the way I kind of look at it, if I'm a player, I'm going to want to go to a team like Coachella because I know that there's the possibility of being called up. Let's face it, it's not the ideal situation going on up north, but if you can get that NHL minutes, those NHL minutes, that's that's always a plus. So, I mean, when you kind of get that opportunity in a team that's not doing so good, that this could be the golden opportunity. And hey, it kind of opens up the league a little more as well. So a couple European imports wouldn't be so bad either.
Yeah, and there's already been some discussion around a situation in Ukraine, there being North American and other internationally based players that aren't looking to go back potentially to the KHL just because of the ongoing conflict and everything. So that is just a whole nother crop of potential players for Coachella Valley to offer contracts to. All in all, it's a good situation for everybody involved.
It's actually a really intriguing point because the appeal of the KHL in years past was like, this is where you get your bag, and they would offer your highest salaries to any league outside the NHL. Well, guess what? That economy in that league is really tanking, and no one really wants to sign with a team in a hostile nation like that. So that offers up opportunities to your other European leagues, the SHL, the Swiss league, everything like that. But if you're not going to get a big payday like that, why not take a chance at getting that bag with a Seattle franchise that, is actually, running up its expansion role, unlike as we saw Vegas in its first couple of years. But there's spots to be had in this lineup. And if you go in Coachella with all of the roster spots available there and you succeed and there's injury problems or they're struggling and they're looking for the hot stick, why not? It's a really intriguing situation for just a brand new team. I kind of want to call it like, a Firebird coming out of the ashes. It's very poetic to what it actually is. So I'm really interested to see what kind of names we got linked to this franchise in this offseason.
And, I would also like to be intrigued by the idea of taking a lot of ECHL players. Like, I mean, who's to say that they wouldn't gut the system of whoever wins down in the finals this year, right? That would be, I'm sure a lot of those players would be worth a call-up at the very least, right? Or at least a shot on the back end. So that would be kind of where I would look as well. A lot of those players are going to be AHL ready or look to be AHL ready, at least on the back end.
Yeah, I look to like Stephen Harper, the MVP of last year's Kelly Cup, who was signed by the Wolves. And, I mean, you look at Chicago with all their depth, it just didn't have any room for him. Well, he seems to have found his spot on Tucson. And, if you're not going to find the spot on Tucson, well, naturally, if it's not, well, maybe not San Jose, but your next stop might be in Coachella. And we'll have to see what it's just really intriguing to see. We haven't really opened up to this kind of a brand new franchise like this, just trying to fill in their roster and see what kind of guys who wants it. That's really what it's going to boil down to at the end.
If I could offer a name, I believe he was only on an ECHL standard player contract, but someone that they could look towards is from the Cyclones, Zach Andrusiak. He had such a great season, and just over a point per game player throughout the season, almost point per game in the playoffs. He could be one of them.
Why not? Why not him?
That's my hot take. Why not him? So, all right, we've spent a little bit of time talking about some NHL stuff, some ECHL stuff, but we're going to go ahead and cycle back to the true reason why we're all here, and that's AHL playoffs. So we have 2 series. We're down to the final 3 series left of the playoffs. So that means we are in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. So in true normal fashion, we are going to go from east to west. So Eastern Conference Finals, we're looking at the second seed out of the Atlantic, Springfield Thunderbirds, versus the number 3 seed out of the North, Laval Rocket. I wasn't exactly looking at this this matchup here. It's a little bit surprising.
I, could have seen the Thunderbird for, quite a bit of time throughout this season, always lingering around the top couple spots in the Atlantic. But the Rocket have really epitomized that chaos that the North has really, defined as their division this season, from being for a long stretch of that season in that bottom 2 out of the playoffs to, number 2 underneath Utica, and then falling into that 3 spot beneath Syracuse to, finding a way through them, finding a way through Rochester is that, hot young upstart coming through in that other side of the bracket. And it's just everything about it speaks chaos, and I love it.
So let's look real quick to see how these teams got here. Now, these are both teams that got the bye to start. So they started in the semifinals. Springfield in a sweep over Wilkes-Barre Scranton back in the divisional semifinals. And then Laval in that long, grueling, it seemed like series against the Syracuse Crunch, where it went 5 games, but they prevailed 3-2 in overtime in that final game. Then moving on into the division finals, Springfield with a sweep over the top-rated Charlotte Checkers, and then same thing, Laval getting a sweep themselves over the Rochester Americans, which brings us to the Eastern Conference Finals. So, guys, I just want to know, what are your keys for this series?
I think that, for Springfield, they kind of need to keep leaning on the game that they have, which has been just physical up front in the face of the other team. I mean, to come out in the sweep Charlotte, that's incredibly impressive. I was not looking for that outcome at all. And I had been, pumping up the tires of the Checkers all season long. And then as we got to the end here, I'm like, I don't know, these Thunderbird, they have a whole new gear in the playoffs, and they have a roster that's built for postseason hockey. I mean, just a bunch of big, mean, nasty bodies that get in on the forecheck and really know how to disrupt your game if you think you're going to open it up and have this high-flying attack. Well, the Thunderbirds have another thing coming for you. And for Laval, I mean, for them, this entire run, you look at some of the names like Cedric Paquette, like Devontae Smith-Pelly, this, veteran experience that this team's really leaned on down the stretch. You're going to face adversity, right? No matter what's going to happen in this series, whether this Thunderbirds team comes up and smacks you in the mouth or whatever happens, you got to find a way to respond. You can't get rattled. As soon as you get inside your own head, this series is going to be over. So they have a goalie in Caden Primo that they can really lean on when it comes down to crunch time. And we thought that with the Thunderbirds getting Lindgren called up to St. Louis, that was going to be, a backbreaker for them. They haven't missed a step with Joel Hofer coming in and assuming the starting duties. I mean, that team is it's looking really good out there. It's an easy cop out to say, goaltending is going to be the key, because goaltending is the key in any series. If you don't have a good goalie, that's really going to be it. But
when that goalie has a .962 save percentage, you almost have to say that that's going to be the difference maker, though.
I know, but is that realistic? Is that gonna maintain over a 7-game series? I mean, maybe if you're Igor Shesterkin, but
in 6 games, That's what he has. And that
That's
was
a pretty
against
good sample
Charlotte,
size.
too.
Against Charlotte, yes.
Yeah.
And you also, I look at the other series that have gone on to date, like even look out to the Western Conference, and not to kind of jump ahead of ourselves, but you have a goaltending battle out there as well. And when you get this deep into a playoffs, you don't do it with, in my opinion, you don't really do it without strong goaltending, right? And we wouldn't see Igor Shesterkin in the NHL just the same as Vasilevsky. Down here, it's Primo and, it's Hofer. That's kind of where I see it, right?
Yeah, you're not getting at this level with a Swiss cheese goalie. I mean, that's really what it is. Look at, again, not to jump ahead of ourselves, but look in the West. Dustin Wolf and Alex Lyon. Those are, again, putting the beat bias aside, if you're going to name the two best goalies in this league, I mean, you got the one who's led in wins, who's led his entire team to one of the best records in the whole league, versus the guy who's had the least amount of goals against on average on the other end. I mean, 1 and 2 the whole season, all season long. It's poetic that they're going to be facing each other in that stage, but yes, goaltending is going to be the key, and you know that you're going to have a hot goalie on the other end, so you're going to have to find a way to, and again, I don't want to kind of rain on spoiler on my prediction there, but Springfield's always had the bodies to kind of go in and crash. They ran into another top 5 goalie this year in Joey Decord and kind of ran him out of the building in 3 straight games. So, okay, yes, I'll talk goaltending, but I want to talk that physicality and that mental edge. And you got vets on Laval. You got vets in Springfield. You got guys like Luke Witkowski, like James Neal, who's been around for 20 years, it feels like, in the National League and the American League. Yeah, the real deal. It's hard to pick against a guy like that, He
had a nice goal the other night, too.
In the last second to beat Decord, yeah, that was pretty.
I'm just going to say, let's just go right into the predictions, because with me, this is almost a no-brainer kind of decision for all the points that we kind of just talked about. But I'll let you guys share yours first, and then I'll bring up the back end.
The way I kind of look at this is both these teams are going to have to find a way to score, right? This isn't going to be a pretty series. I promise you. The goals that we're getting aren't going to be great. Right, this is going to be very crash and bang. This is hanging out in front of the net, looking for some juicy rebounds. I mean, while I do think that Springfield has the edge, I don't think that we can discount Laval because they've been playing just so good, right? And Springfield needs to stay out of the box, nearing 15 minutes, penalty minutes on average a game. It's not the way to do it. You got the power play to back it up on the other side. But it's going to be a lot closer than what we think. This is definitely going all the way, and it's going to go right down to the final game. And for me, it's got to be Springfield.
So if you're gonna, I mean, who's got the? If I were to ask you who's got the advantage in that, I mean, you got to lean towards Laval, right? I mean, I like Caden Primo, but I know Hofer has been unreal, but I mean, he's a guy who jumped up into that role, and now that St. Louis is out, is Lindgren going to be the guy? Is it going to be Hofer? Springfield's can win with either one. It really doesn't matter in the end of the day. If they can't win with one, well, they're just going to go right to the other guy who's more than capable of winning. That being said, I mean, I look at the clip in which Springfield power play is running these playoffs, and when you're at 37%, that's deadly. And, I know Laval is nothing to slouch at with 27% on their own end, but again, Springfield is just they're feeling it, and they they remind me a lot of their parent club back in 2019 that would just play that smash mouth type of hockey that would just blow teams up in their own end for those juicy turnovers. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's going to be those mistakes that are going to break your back. They broke Charlotte's back. You know, that turnover that ended up leading to Neil's goal, that's a backbreaker. That ends your season. And it's going to be ending someone's season here. Springfield's just, despite losing Prunovich, despite having all these factors, this team's hung around. I've gone against them too much this season to do it again, to doubt this team again. And I'm going to have to go Thunderbirds in 6.
So, first of all, if Springfield decides to start Lindgren over Hofer,
I don't know how
that would be such a slap in the face for everything that young rookie has done. And again, not to allude to the other one, it would be like Chicago getting Kochetkov in over Lyon. You can't do that. He would be the backup option in my mind. If they start Lindgren, I think that is just going to set off a series of unfortunate events that would lead to Springfield's downfall. However, I'm going to say that this one's going to go all the way. It's going to be tight. The difference maker is going to be in goaltending and, like Andrew said, on that Springfield power play. It's going to go the entire series, but Springfield's going to get it.
And I know that Lindgren has kind of been chewing bubblegum on the NHL bench, just watching Husso tank at times. But like for me, I got to look at the veteran experience as well, and that's got to play a factor into my goaltending decision. And Lindgren has been around the league for 5-6 years, right? Like he's seen this inside out, and he has playoff experience. It'd be tough not to start him, but I could see why they wouldn't start him all the same. It's a decision.
Lindgren's been around the league, but he just came over from Laval after being there for the last 3-4 years. So do you think that might play a factor? And this is a guy who knows the shooters coming down the other way. I mean,
and you got to think too, Lindgren wasn't always prioritized in his goaltending against Laval. I would like to think that his time in Laval wasn't all that great compared to where he could have been, right? He never had that NHL shot. Not once did they give him an opportunity. They hardly gave him preseason experience. For me, I'm looking like he's got to be shooting for redemption, right? There's got to be a fire inside of him that says, hey, you couldn't help me before, but here's the chance.
Right.
All right, so this is a best-of-7 series that kicks off on Saturday, June 4th at 7:35 in Springfield, turning right back around less than 24 hours later on June 5th, Sunday at 5:05, also in Springfield. The series will then shift to Laval for 3 games on Wednesday, June 8th and Friday, June 10th, and then, if needed, Saturday, June 11th, all at 7 p.m. And then if needed, the last 2 games will go back to Massachusetts, Monday, June 3rd, and Wednesday, June 15th at 7:05. So now, if we didn't already spend enough time talking about the Eastern Conference, I have a feeling this one, there's going to be a lot of opinions because we have our resident Chicago Wolves expert. I feel like we've all really become experts on the Chicago Wolves this season, thanks to this podcast and Andrew. But we've got the Western Conference Finals between the number 1 seed out of the Central Division, Chicago Wolves, and the number 1 seed out of the Pacific, Stockton Heat. We talked a lot about Stockton last episode in their upcoming move to Calgary. But real quick, we're going to talk about how they got here. So in the opening round, both teams, again, buys just because they finished top in their division. So they were able to sit out that first round. In the division semifinals, Despite Andrew being a bit worried about this matchup, Chicago swept the Rockford Ice Hogs in 3 games. And then likewise in the Pacific Division semifinals, Stockton doing the same to the Bakersfield Condors. Then for the division finals, Chicago winning 3-1 over the Milwaukee Admirals. And then Stockton, same thing, 3-1 over the Colorado Eagles. Now here they are getting ready to go in a best of 7. I'm predicting a barn burner of a series for the Western Conference Finals.
And 2 teams that really kind of came to the end in their own way. Chicago just really lighting up those offensive engines and burning holes through the Milwaukee Nets, and those poor net miners, Connor Ingram and Devin Cooley, really did all that they possibly could against that, but it was just too much Wolves and too much pressure. They could only hold it back until the dam finally broke. And on the other end, Stockton was like, if you get 1, you win. While, Dustin Wolf decided, I'm just not going to give you 1 for 3 games there. And we're seeing 2 teams that have succeeded spectacularly all season long in their own ways and in 2 different directions. But, again, I don't want to take anything away from the incredible postseason that Alex Lyons had in his own net. I mean, Dustin Wolf has been setting records, but again, Lyon is absolutely nothing to slouch at in his own right. And it's when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force, who's going to take it? And both of these teams have just looked incredible from their own divisions on their own ends. And this has been kind of the prophecy for months, seeing, 1 and 2 going at it. And I just want to revisit back to the last day of the regular season, where Stockton drops that game in Bakersfield and Chicago wins at Rockford. Now Chicago's got that extra game at home. Is it going to make a difference here? I mean, I'm not speculating, but that could come back to haunt the Heat.
So the way you got to look at this series in one way. Both of these teams in 7 games have let up 13 goals total through 7. That's an outstanding number. You also got to think about it this way. You have to be able to score more than 1 goal to win. I know this series may be the opposite. Who knows, right? Because goaltending let's face it, these are 2 of the best goaltenders in the league going head to head. Like, this is crazy. But for me, I also have to look at they have to be scoring more than a goal, right? And for Stockton, I know that they kind of played well against the Eagles, relatively well, right? But a lot of these 1-0 wins, they're not going to go far against a very powerful team. I guess we've seen it in game 1, and who knows what we'll see in game 2. But for me, it's got to be down to who can score. Right? Like, that's the plain and simple bread and butter. Who can find a way to beat the goaltender? And it's like I said in the last series, it's about changing the way that you shoot in a sense, right? You want to find other different ways, bad deflections. A goal is a goal, right? Bang it off the board. See what you can do. Get some bodies, get some traffic, cut down the lane, right? Make sure the goaltender can't see that. Those are little things that has to be adjusted going into the series. Podorowski, I have full faith in him to kind of light the lamp and find ways to do it, but you got to change your way.
Yeah. And when you look at a guy like, again, I said it earlier, but Connor Ingram and Devin Cooley has been one of the better goaltending tandems of the whole league, really. And Chicago just said, all right, I must break you. And then they kind of Drago'd them, and you've kind of seen where it led to the Admirals. Now, I think Milwaukee was a team that kind of leaned a little too much on their goaltending, and it did end up leading them to a Game 3 win where Devin Cooley had 47 saves. I mean, good Lord, he played out of his mind, but you can't reasonably come up to Dustin Wolf and ask him to make 45 saves in a 7-game series and expect to come out on top. Stockton's going to have to find a way to clog that neutral zone up. They're going to have to find a way to get bodies in front of them in those shooting lanes, and they got to give Wolf some help. You're going to give up chances. That's just, you're not going to be able to shut this Chicago team down. It's just teams have tried. They've gotten burned. You're not going to do it. The chances are going to be there. You got to limit the chances that you give up, and you can't give up those second chance opportunities. You can't let Chicago get a shot, pick up the rebound, and then work the cycle. Your defense is going to get tired. You're going to get worn down. And by the time that third period comes and Wolf's facing his 50th shot, well, guess what? You're behind the wagon. I've seen it way too often in this postseason. Stockton's got to find a way to break that pace up.
Where Chicago has a real advantage, though, is so we go into this playoffs thinking, okay, it's going to be Chicago's big three. You're going to have Podorowski, Nason, and Smith. Well, the people that have really been stepping up have been Josh Levo, Jack Drury, of course, Stefan Nason, but people that we weren't necessarily looking at. So now you don't have to shut down a line. You have to shut down 2, maybe even more. I mean, all of these players are just playing insane, especially Josh Levo. Seems like every time I turn around, he's making another outstanding play. In 7 games, the guy's a plus 11 with 13 points. He's leading the league in that.
Is that good?
You know, it's maybe we'll have to revisit. Is it good? But is it dangerous? Yes. But also, you know, Chicago just got some major reinforcements. We already kind of alluded to it in net here on Tuesday when we're recording this. I mean, they got Pyotr Kochekov back and Jack LaFontaine, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, they got both of those guys back from the Carolina Hurricanes because they were eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs. They have a lot of weapons.
Talk about an embarrassment of riches. Imagine if Alex Lyon falters in that game 1 or game 2, and your backup option is a guy who went 13-1-1 in 15 games. I mean, this is what really separates this Wolves team from some of the other franchises that remain and that have been in these playoffs, is that, you know, you look at a team like Ontario, and as we've kind of figured out, they were really just driven by that top line. Granted, a really good top line, but you shut that line down and you're pretty scot-free. Ask the Colorado Eagles all about it. But the Wolves, okay, so let's say you can at least draw even blood against the Podorowski line. Coming up behind him is a guy who won the league championship over in Sweden in Jack Drury, a guy who knows and has elevated this game in the postseason and knows what to do when the stakes rise up like this. You might shut him down, but hey, guess what? That third line is Jamison Reese, Vasily Ponomarev, and Stelio Matheos. I mean, this team just comes at you at waves, and you can focus your top defensive line and top defensive forward line to shut down one, but then what do you do about the second line? And then you're all gassed just trying to get the puck out of the zone, and then here comes the third line, and even that fourth line's got potential to hold the puck in the zone. It's, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm running the beat bias here, but there's got to be some sense behind it, because this team's just been piling the goal totals up all season, all playoffs. And again, Stockton's got to find a way to slow it down before it gets to Wolf, because he's going to be a really tired goalie by the time you get to game 5. He's got to be asked to make 50 stops a game.
Yeah. What has me mainly concerned about Stockton is their power play percentage. 16.7%. Looking at Chicago, 25%. Yeah, it's that number kind of concerns me. I mean, the PK looks better at 80%. So if they go shorthanded, more than likely they'll be okay. But yeah, that power play percentage is just not looking good. It's a point of concern, honestly.
Stockton's got to keep if they keep it at 5-on-5, they got a good shot at I don't even want to say pulling the upset because they really just lost that number 1 seed on the last day. You know, and for as much as we talk about Chicago, I've said again and again and again that this Stockton team is wholly capable of running away with this whole playoff. And maybe it just comes from recency bias because we've talked about Stockton so much all season long and being so far ahead in such a hyper competitive Pacific division that I don't want to say you forget about them, but you know, a couple weeks ago we couldn't stop talking about the Colorado Eagles, and then here comes the Stockton Heat, and they shut them out in 3 of the 4 games that they play. So maybe Stockton likes that. They like kind of flying for as much as you could possibly fly under the radar as the number 2 team in the league. That's maybe the role that they embrace, and they don't do it in a flashy style that maybe a Colorado or Chicago will. But who cares about flashy if you win the game? You know, and if you win 4 games and you're boring, well, ask the 2000 New Jersey Devils how they feel about that.
But just a couple players on Stockton that, I mean, we have talked so much about Jacob Pelletier. I mean, he was always towards the top of the rookie leaderboards, but we really just got to, you know, mention Justin Kirkland, Matthew Phillips. They have been honestly the leaders in terms of scoring on Stockton this postseason. You know, then you're going to look towards, you know, some of the guys maybe down on the other end that, you know, they're going to pack a little bit of a punch too on defense. You know, you got another rookie, Colton Pullman, you got Alex Gallant, Etu Tuola. I mean, he's a forward, but he can make the play.
I think Stockton's really going to follow the lead of Byron Frazee, their captain. I mean, here's a guy who went crashing and banging into every single Colorado Eagle that he could possibly line up in his sights that whole series. And when they're following his lead, I mean, he wears the C on his jersey for a reason. If they can get crashing and banging, it's if you get this Chicago team off their game, if you get them making those mental mistakes, then you're going to get them shorthanded and you're going to find a way to cash in like Milwaukee did for a singular game. But, you know, maybe that's the game plan. Maybe you follow that blueprint into it's a way different game now that you're facing a team that you haven't seen all year long. And I think there's gonna be a bit of a period where they're gonna feel each other out in that first game because they don't really. You can watch a billion hours of film, but you don't really know what you're getting into until that first puck drops. And we'll see who has the game plan and who can really enforce their will, whether it's offensively like Chicago likes or defensively like Stockton does.
And one quick point, because I know that we have to move on. We're running short on time. Stockton Heat, they don't have anybody in the top 20 for points so far this playoffs. They don't have a single player in that leaderboard. Someone has to register more than 6 points throughout this series. We talked about them all series long. We talked about all season long. Andrew, Deana, you guys queued it up perfectly. Those are the guys who need to start scoring.
All right. So with that being said, again, best of 7. Who's ultimately going to take this one?
Zach, you start. I'm beat bias.
Do I have to pick? Like,
right?
Really, like, this is so tight. But I mean, all that in mind, I mean, it's hard not to say Chicago. It really is hard not to say Chicago, but it's going to be a close series, and I know that. right? I know that Dustin Wolf is just going to put the whole team in the backpack, and he's got to be the key to the series. He's going to be the key to the series, but it's going to go to 7 games. It's got to be Chicago.
I mean, I never would have imagined a situation in which Stockton was going to shut out Colorado 3 times, but I don't. Chicago was shut out once this season, and it was with a COVID-ravaged roster, and it was an absolute nightmare of a game against Rockford back in January. They're going to try and shut it. Oh, you're going to make me try and call this. We've been anticipating this matchup at least since January, right?
Right.
This has been months in the making.
We said at the beginning of the playoffs that this was a possibility that this could happen. And we all said this would be such a crazy opportunity.
I'm going to take the Wolves in 6. I don't think Stockton, they can try and shut them down, but I don't think they got the firepower to keep up. And if they find themselves behind, I don't think they're going to be able to crawl back into it. I don't.
There will be no shutouts this series, at least from Stockton. There will be no sweeps in either of these 2 series. I believe both series are going to go the entire distance, but ultimately Chicago won the regular season for a reason. They're going to take it. It's going to be Springfield, Chicago for the championship.
I'm with you on that one, Dino.
All right. Okay, so before we kind of review our playoff predictions from the series that have finished so far, are there any other things you want to talk about, just from the playoffs? I know it's been kind of crazy. I mean, I never anticipated like Rochester going as far as they did. I'd never imagined Dustin Wolf being, I mean, we already talked about him, but putting on that kind of performance. There's been a lot of storylines, but any you guys want to chat about here real quick?
Jeremy
Paul. Calling Rochester was a bad idea in hindsight.
It's all Jeremy for me. I mean, come on, buddy. We were with you 100%. What happened?
That was Laval. Man, if I've never seen anybody have their number, like have another team's number quite like Laval over Rochester.
Yeah, I guess just, the clock struck 12 on Cinderella after they beat Utica. It was just Rochester just had too many flaws. It's a tough. You can't win every playoff game 6-5, right?
And you kind of need,
Don't ask Edmonton that.
Oh no.
But it's another prime example of you need your goal scorers to score, right? Yep. Like if you're not going to get that production, you're not going to win. And this is what I fear with Stockton. It's like, I hate to kind of go back, but this is kind of what I fear with Stockton. If your goal scorers aren't scoring, we've seen this story before.
Will the real Jack Quinn please stand up? Well, not anymore because his team's out of the playoffs. But
right, do we call off the milk carton campaign, or am I just dating myself with that reference?
I think we got to revisit that in October.
Okay, absolutely fair. Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy offseason because some of the teams, mainly looking at Utica, that I envisioned kind of going a little bit farther. Oh, in Ontario too. That just kind of sputtered and died right away. It's, I don't know, just a crazy offseason or postseason, and we're not done. We got 2 more rounds of 7 games. We're just getting warmed up here, guys. All right, so we're going to take a quick look. I'm not going to go over all of our predictions because if I did that, we will be here until next Thursday. And so if you want to know our exact predictions, you can go back, listen to our previous episodes. But I do have a leaderboard here of of predictions. And the way that I figured this out, I kind of came up with my own little system. So just because not all of us were here for all episodes of every episode, and sometimes we would give a team, but not, in 5, in 3, not name the number of games and things like that. I decided that if they named a team, it was worth a point. If they named the number of games, it was worth a point. So each prediction had a total of up to 2 points. Then I took the earned versus the potential, kind of divided those out. 4, and we've been talking about this term all season long, points percentage. So in the lead is a special guest that we've had on multiple times this postseason, Corey Schwartz, with a 0.8 points percentage. He earned 4 of a possible 5 points, so way to go. After that was Michael Liu. He had 4 out of a possible 6 points for a 0.667 points percentage. Then Andrew coming in with 17 out of 29 for a 5.86. Then I came in with a 5.26 with 10 out of 19. Zach coming in right after me with a 4.73, and then Jeremy with a 4.5.
When you're right 53% of the time, you're wrong 47% of the time. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. Okay?
I'm a glass 53% full kind of guy.
Exactly. See? and everybody knows not to listen to me anyways, right? That was already assumed. If you didn't learn from the Olympics episode, that was already assumed. So what can I say? I did good.
Well, I will say, though, back in the quarterfinals, you were the only one to correctly predict that Rockford was going to win in their opening series against Texas. So good job.
Go. See?
Yeah. And then there were some where we all swung and missed, like in the Bakersfield Abbotsford series where we all predicted Abbotsford. But
Michael had a soul down the river. He really did. We're going to have to blame Michael on that one.
Michael sold me oceanfront property in Alberta.
He currently doesn't have a voice right now to kind of defend himself.
Poor guy.
Well, it's quite all right because we're going to talk about a pick that he made last week here very soon. And you know what? He doesn't need to defend himself because he ultimately had the last laugh over all of us. But I'm not going to get too far into that here. We're just going to go ahead and go right into our oof of the week. And we've got a twofer for you this week. So both are, in a way, kind of related to the Western Conference. But guys, we already talked about it a little bit. But what the heck happened to Colorado? I mean, they look so hot and poised for a potential massive upset headed into that Pacific Conference Finals. Then, we've talked about them too. They met someone by the name of Dustin Wolf. I mean, come on, 3 All-Stars on their roster. Colorado got shut out 3 times in the same series. Just oof.
And it wasn't like they scored 1 or 2 goals in the third game. They scored 6. So, you can score on the guy. What?
I don't know how you score 6 goals one game and then fail to score on him 3 other. That's
3 times. 3 times.
Not one. Not a single goal.
3 times.
3. I don't know. Just oof. That's all there needs to be said.
That's an oof.
And then back to talking about what we're kind of alluding to with Michael. Zach's kind of scratching his head right now. He knows where this is going. But, we don't take ourselves all that seriously as Zach scoots out of the screen. We don't take Sorry. I'm going to play the clip. But we don't take ourselves too seriously here at the Holy GrAHL. So for this back half of our oofs, maybe this is why Jeremy isn't here, but we're going to be pointing the finger at some of us, kind of. More like Jeremy and Zach. So need some more context here? Well, here's a compilation of some clips from last week's episode, which was recorded on Tuesday night ahead of a game 3, I believe it was, between Milwaukee and Chicago. And Michael offered up quite the hot take and ultimately hit the nail square on the head.
For my searing hot take, fresh off of the grill, and I'm really glad Andrew is not here for this. I think Milwaukee's going to win a game.
No
That's
way.
my hot take.
You think that? No. No, you can't have told me like it's just no way, right? I mean, like, it's actually been disrespectful. Like, the way that Chicago has handled the Admirals to this point has been absolutely distasteful. I think that there's a lot of people who are going to have to answer to the atrocities that are this series at this point. It's just so bad. It's so bad. Can we super swipe left?
If it was close with, like, if it wasn't close in the first series with Manitoba, they swept Manitoba, they took them to the cleaners, I would tell you, yeah, sure, maybe this might be their top. No way. I'm sorry, and no disrespect, but this is like one of those, like the quick swipes. Like, you didn't even get past the first. Like, I didn't even need to see your bio. I seen the first picture, and I said, "That's enough for me." I'm sorry, buddy. I really am.
Not even one game. I can't even sell you guys on one game.
I just can't see it, my guy. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. But I admire you. Like, this was a class act in hot takery. Like, this is like the most hot take of hot takes. And I respect you for that. Any other takes on this series so far? Except for Michael. Actually, Zach, do you have any other takes on this series?
Okay. Wait. Can I ask one question? My job is to ask the tough questions. Why do you think that Milwaukee is going to win?
Because
Tell me.
Okay. So this is completely just nonsense superstition. But I just feel like the Wolves are going to lose focus for whatever reason. For some reason, something goes wrong. And this is the thing, like, it's been ingrained to me from watching Colorado Avalanche. They're not going to sweep an opponent. They're just going to stumble in one game for whatever reason, and they're just going to drop. They're going to lose it. They're going to outplay their opponents, but like 2 fluky goals, and all of a sudden, that's a game. There's no reason besides the fact that I just want pure chaos.
I love you, Michael. Please don't hurt me. You're my BC friend. Come on, buddy. Us Canadians have to stick together, okay? I love you.
I even said, as a Chicago beat writer, I was like, I respect the Admirals. They'll win a game. I said that Chicago was going to take it in 4.
But the way you guys just kept pouring on that sweet soul. He's just a child.
He's already dead. I'm sorry, Michael. Okay, I doubted you.
I'll never forget coming out of that 6-2 win in game 1, and Coach Warsofsky coming up and talking about, oh, we need to be smarter, we need to play stronger, we need to play faster, we need to play better. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. And I'm thinking in my head, like, you just won 6-2, and you're telling me you got to play better? And then the very next day, they win 8-2, and he comes out and tells me, yeah, I thought you guys think I'm crazy, but I thought the game was a lot closer than the score indicated. And I'm like, Coach, you won by 6. How close could it have actually have been? And I think that is really a big point about these Chicago Wolves, is that even when they're not 100% on, they find a way. And if Stockton runs into 100% on Chicago Wolves team, that could be dangerous.
What cracks me up is he mentioned, all it takes is 2 goals, and Milwaukee won by 2. It's like he time traveled. That's all there is to it.
He's a smart guy.
He got everything just nail on. And if it wasn't for the fact that I can go back and prove, like, with timestamps that we recorded this on Tuesday, I could easily see, like, no, there's no way. You guys had to do this late Wednesday night. Because it is just too good. But I guess oof goes to 2 of us, and and Michael gets the anti-oof. He just gets the king's crown, I guess.
Do we can he have like another swipe or a super swipe or something? Can we award him with the Holy GrAHL of super swipes or something? Like, we have to give him bonus points for something.
We will give him a bonus super swipe for the month of June.
We will do that. He deserves it.
He absolutely deserves
Get well
that.
soon, Michael.
Yes, we miss you, Michael. Get well soon. He picked a heck of a time to come under the weather, but we hope he gets better soon. So, all right, we're going to talk about super swipes. We're going to move right on into our swipe left or swipe right segment, where my colleagues here are going to give us some hot takes. We'll see if any are as steaming hot as Michael's from last week. But simple rules: swipe right is good, swipe left is bad, super swipe up is really good. Andrew, just go ahead and kick us off. New month.
Yeah. So again, as we alluded to earlier, the big news of the week here for the Wolves until Friday, that is, has been the return of Pyotr Kochetkov. And how could you not be excited about a goalie coming in who's 13-1-1? I mean, that's awesome. And having him back from Carolina now that their run in the Cup is over, you got to be ecstatic about that, right? I don't think that Kochetkov sees a start in these playoffs. I think Alex Lyon is just too good right now. I think that having a guy like Kochetkov breathing down his neck is only going to elevate his game and make him play even better down the stretch. And unless the Wolves are up 3-0 on Stockton, which I don't see happening, and maybe, okay, we'll get Kochetkov a start just to, get a fresh set of legs in there. I think he's going to be doing a lot of what he did in Carolina, and he's going to be watching a lot of this series from the sidelines.
If I close up the app and wait for a couple of days, will you change your profile and then make it easier for me?
It's probably going to remain the same until Friday.
With me, I'm kind of leaning the same way Zach is, I think, because there's a little bit missing here in terms of the playoffs are so crazy, and you never know when, especially as we get into the later rounds, you're going to see people rushing the goalie a little bit more. I can't discount a potential injury. It's too much. I mean, but if you were to say he doesn't see his start because Alex Lyon does not continue his hot streak, he lets up on his play, then I could say, oh yeah, super swipe, absolutely. But there's that.
I didn't want to say the I word because I didn't want to jinx Alex.
Okay, fair. That's fair. But I gotta go left on this one, just because you can't discount a possible injury, sickness, something. And I don't want to jinx it. I am knocking on my wood laptop stand here.
Oh boy. I mean, I liked Kochetkov. Don't get me wrong. And
I love him.
He was put into a tough situation with the Rangers, right? Like, and we also have to think about before Kochetkov came, Lyon was the guy. But I'm going to go with the Michael analogy here, and something's going to go wrong. Expect the unexpected. There's going to be a stumble, and he will see the ice. Whether or not he sees a start, I don't know, right? 2010, I never thought that Halak would get a start when Carey Price was in net. Look where we were, right? They went 3 rounds with Halak. So I can't discount the fact that he won't see ice. I can't discount the fact that he won't start because, hey, if you got someone breathing down your neck, it's tough not to kind of choose that guy.
Fair. That's very fair.
So you guys pretty well know me by now, and I try not to pick who's going to win what award, who will come away with the most goals or MVP, but I'm starting to nest it a little bit. I'm starting to kind of gather around this idea that the playoff MVP will be Dustin Wolf if they make it there. And this is a key word, if, right? So because they have a tough team to kind of go through, and if they're going to get through, it's going to be Wolf. The last goalie to do this was Robin Lehner in 2011, and Andrew Podorowski was the last player to do so. I think he's going to stop the reigning MVP for players from last year, from the last time around, and I think that he's going to do it this time.
Well, I predicted Wolves in 6, so I naturally I can't swipe right on this, right? It would be disingenuous to go for 2 different picks.
Keywords if he makes it.
That's if. Yeah, well, if. That's a lot riding on an if. I mean, am I going to swipe on an if? You know? Okay, I'll swipe right if you go out with me, but if you're not going to go out with me, then what am I even doing here? I've had a lot of those experiences in my past life. And my present life, to be honest. I can't commit to that. I picked the Wolves to win. And not that wolf, but the other wolves. I got to go with the wolf pack and not the lone wolf. I'm sorry. I'm swiping left.
The wolf pack never made the playoffs, though.
Yeah, well, that's
Andrew, come on.
That's a different discussion for another time.
But yeah.
Wait, the wolf pack kind of fell. They fell off the turnip truck last going off. See?
Oh, they fell off.
See, this is what's happening. And you just picked the wolf. They're gonna fall. The mighty will fall. And the wolf pack were mighty at one point too. This is all making sense now. Everything is coming in the line.
If the Wolves turn into the wolf pack in this series,
it's David versus Goliath. One wolf versus
there's
wolf.
no saving them.
I'm sorry, I can't get over the fact that out of every truck you could have picked an animal to fall off of, it was a turnip truck? What? How did you get turnips?
Is that some kind of Super Mario reference?
They failed to turn up to the games. This is what happened.
Oh, no. See, I was Andrew. Just shuts off the video. He's done. See, I was going all Daisy May and Animal Crossing. Like, oh, it's turnip day. Buy your turnips. I have to remain consistent. Andrew said you can't swipe on an if, but my previous feedback to Andrew was, well, he didn't have any qualifiers in there. He didn't have enough information. Therefore, that if they make it, help clarify it enough that, okay, if this situation turns out, yes, I can totally see that happening. We're just swiping for potential dates. We're not swiping for a marriage commitment right off the bat. So I'll take the if and I will swipe right.
This game is 7-5 right now. And I'm like, if you see me like doing one of those, I'm just like,
Okay, so we have a couple minutes. Let's just discuss how hockey is so weird.
It's
And
7-6. Yeah.
we try to predict things. And for those of you wondering, that score that Andrew just talked about, 7-6, is the current score of the Chicago is the current score of the Colorado Avalanche and the Edmonton Oilers in the NHL. You know, hockey is weird, and here we are trying to predict it. For all we know, everything's going to be wrong, and we're just going to be sitting here giving ourselves another oof here in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. Colorado definitely gets an oof because they don't know how to play defense. Hey-oh.
Didn't Mike Smith get pulled earlier on in this game?
See, Mike
Edmonton
Smith
gets an
would be
oof because
Mike
they don't
Smith.
have a goalie.
Okay.
Hey-oh.
Mike Smith, you'll either have a Vezina winning goaltender, can stop the Calgary Flames, sort of, and like it'll be great. And then another chance will be like, nah, I'm Mike Smith. Remember who I am. I've met my save quota this series.
How do you score 7 goals and you're only up by 1? Ask Colorado. Hey-oh.
Golov's in net.
Oh, God.
Now, to be fair, yeah, Colorado did lose Kemper because he's China glass plate and can't stay in a game for more than 20 minutes. So Francouz is in that. So, you know, backup goalies have had a really stellar record in this playoff.
Koskinen. Woo!
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, we actually have 2 backup goalies in that. So maybe that explains the score.
It depends on how good McDavid's back is. Has he had any roll-aid? Has he had relief? Is he taking the
I think he's only got like 2
strength?
points tonight. He's really tie game. Oh no! Oh my God, that was close. Oh, that was
He's got 21 players on his back right now.
yeah. He's got the entire. What's the population of the city of Edmonton? He's got that on his back right now.
Couple mil.
Couple more.
Can I just say how low-key of a great name Pavel Francouz has? Like, it's an underappreciated name.
I wish he was a better goalie to match the name, but hey, you know, some people only get one or the other, or 0 of the 2. So hey, he's got one. He's got one of them going for him. Yeah, well,
and he is a wonderful young man, and a wonderful human being. And I'm glad he goes by Jet instead of his given name, because Jet is just an amazing nickname.
It's a million times better.
Yeah, a million times better. I can't wait for the day that T-Bone Cod makes it, because man, I want to talk about that kid more.
I hope he's in Grand Rapids next year. That'd be awesome.
That would be amazing. Work your connections, Andrew. Help the kid out. Let's make it happen.
I'll do our best.
There we go. Making dreams come true on the Holy Grail. But I think that's going to be it for the Holy Grail this week. Now, of course, if you like us, please like, subscribe, share, rate this podcast. Of course, tell all your friends. And then, you know, if you want to follow us on Twitter, if you really like us, want to talk to us, we have a new podcast Twitter account, which it can be a little scary. We all have the password, so you never quite know who's going to be on there posting some stuff. Lord knows I should have gotten a new for me tagging the Rochester Americans and saying, oh, this best of 7 series. And I get the team and the play-by-play guy going, best of 5. Oops.
See, you never know what you're going to get when you sign on to Twitter. It depends on who's feeling lucky with that password, because that's being shared around. Boy, oh boy, exciting times.
I think y'all need to take it away from me for a little bit until I learn the number of games in a series. But anyway, if you want to check that out and chat with us a little bit, that is at the Holy GrAHL, GrAHL. And then if you just want to talk to us one-on-one, follow our content, feel free to give us all a follow on our own personal FPH accounts on Twitter. I'm at FPH Monsters.
You can find me at FPH Wolves for some playoff content or non-playoff content. You can find me at FPH Griffins.
Hey, I haven't had a horse in the race in so long, but the FBH Marlies account will bring you everything you need to know.
And then, of course, you can check out all of our written work on fieldpasshockey.com. And then, of course, if an app is more your speed, we got the Field Pass Hockey app as well. Unfortunately, we're not going to have any more playoff radio broadcast on there since the Charlotte Checkers are out. But, go ahead and download it, have it ready to have in your pocket for next season. Then, of course, we have multiple other podcasts on the Field Pass Hockey Network. Most of them are in off-season mode, meaning you're going to get one episode a month, but they're still there. They're going to give you all the content you need. You have Inside the SPHL with James Hayes, Syracuse Speaks with Alexandra Ackerman, Monsters Musings with Jay Forrester and myself, and then our ECHL podcast, the 3 Periods podcast with Matt Harding. On behalf of myself and my lovely co-hosts here at the Holy Grail, we hope you have an amazing week, and we will see you next Thursday. Bye!
This has been the Holy GrAHL podcast. Have a question or a topic suggestion? Hit us up on Twitter or drop us an email. For the latest news across the American Hockey League and the rest of minor league hockey, download the Field Pass Hockey app, now available in the Apple and Android app stores.